Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Clay Fuentes wiped down the bar counter at Rusty's Tavern, watching the evening crowd filter in. 5 years since he'd left Delta Force, and civilian life still felt like wearing someone else's boots. Never quite the right fit. But his son Tyler made it worth it. Dad! 7-year-old Tyler burst through the door, his grandmother Marissa Proctor trailing behind with an apologetic smile. The boy's backpack bounced as he ran straight into Clay's arms. "Well, little man, school good." Clay lifted him onto a bar stool. "I got an A on my science project. The volcano was awesome." Tyler's eyes sparkled with the same intensity Clay remembered from his own childhood. Marissa squeezed Clay's shoulder. "He's brilliant, just like you were before you went and joined the military." She said it without judgment. She'd raised him alone after his father died in a factory accident, and she understood men who needed purpose. "Before I learned to make something of myself, you mean?" Clay grinned. The door chimed again. Clay's smile faded. Tiffany Benson, née Fuentes, walked in wearing a designer dress that cost more than Clay's monthly rent. Behind her loomed Lewis Benson, a 4-star general whose chest candy glittered even in civilian clothes. They'd been married 6 months. "Tyler, get your things. Now." Tiffany's voice could strip paint. Tyler's face crumpled. "But Mom, it's not your night. General Benson has an important dinner. We need you presentable." She snapped her fingers. Clay stepped forward. "Tiff, the custody agreement says I have him until Sunday." "It's Thursday." Lewis Benson's eyes were chips of ice. "The agreement also says the child needs proper guidance, not some washed-up bartender." Clay's jaw tightened. Every instinct screamed at him to put this pompous officer through the wall. Instead, he crouched to Tyler's level. "It's okay, buddy. I'll see you Sunday, right?" Tyler nodded, tears threatening. "That's my tough guy." Clay ruffled his hair. As they left, Marissa touched Clay's arm. "That man's dangerous, me, Joe. I see it in his eyes." "I know, Ma, but what can I do?" Tiffany has a high-powered lawyer. Lewis has connections everywhere. Clay watched through the window as Lewis roughly grabbed Tyler's shoulder, shoving him toward a black Mercedes. "I'm just a guy slinging drinks. You're more than that. You've always been more." Clay didn't respond. He'd spent 12 years in Delta Force, 3 deployments, missions that didn't exist on paper, things that would give most men nightmares. He'd left it all behind when Tiffany got pregnant, trying to be the father he never had. It hadn't been enough for her. She wanted money, status, power. A decorated general could give her that. A special operations soldier couldn't. Later that night, after closing, Clay sat in his small apartment above the bar. Photos of Tyler covered one wall. Baseball games, birthday parties, father-son camping trips. His phone buzzed. "Clay, it's Garrett." Garrett Gomez's voice crackled through. They'd served together, survived hell together. "You sound like shit. Just thinking about Tyler. This General Tiffany married. Something's off, Garrett. You want me to run a background check?" "No, man. I can't afford to start a war. Tiffany would use it to cut me out completely. Just say the word, brother. We take care of our own." After hanging up, Clay stared at the photo of him and Tyler at the Grand Canyon. The boy's grin was infectious, fearless. "I should have fought harder," Clay thought. Should have been more. He didn't know that in 3 days, his whole world would detonate. Friday evening, Tyler sat at the Benson's marble dining table, pushing food around his plate. The house was enormous, 6 bedrooms, a pool, manicured lawns that stretched forever. It felt like a museum, beautiful, cold, untouchable. "Sit up straight," Lewis barked, "and finish your vegetables." "I don't like asparagus," Tyler said quietly. Lewis's fork hit the plate with a clang. "What did you say?" Tiffany didn't look up from her wine. She'd learned when to intervene and when to let Lewis establish dominance. This was the latter. "I said, I don't like asparagus, sir. In this house, you eat what you're given. Do you understand?" Lewis's face reddened. "Your father may let you act like a brat, but I won't tolerate disrespect." "He's not a brat," Tyler's voice cracked. "And my dad's not." The backhand came fast. Tyler's head snapped sideways, chair skidding across polished marble. Blood trickled from his lip. Tiffany finally looked up. "Lewis, he's 7. He needs discipline." Your ex-husband clearly failed at that. Lewis stood over Tyler, who was crying silently. Now, you will finish every bite on that plate. Then you'll go to your room and write, "I will respect authority 100 times." Tyler didn't call Clay. The general had confiscated his phone days ago, claiming children didn't need such distractions. He didn't tell his mother, who locked herself in the bedroom most nights with her wine and sleeping pills. He just wrote the lines, tears smudging the ink. That night, Tyler heard them arguing. "He's my son, Lewis. He's a disrespectful little punk who needs a firm hand. You've coddled him. His father's coddled him. That ends now. Maybe we should let Clay have more custody." Absolutely not. That failure gets nothing. Do you understand? You wanted this life, Tiffany. You wanted the general's wife lifestyle. That includes raising a child who respects military discipline. Silence. Good. Now, we're attending the Joint Chiefs dinner tomorrow night. The boy comes with us. He'll learn how to behave in proper society. Tyler pressed his face into the pillow. He wanted his dad. He wanted to go camping again, wanted to laugh again. But something told him, some instinct children have when monsters wear human faces, that asking for his father would only make things worse. He had no idea how right he was. Saturday, 6:47 p.m. Clay was preparing for the evening rush when his phone exploded with calls from an unknown number. "Mr. Fuentes, this is Memorial Hospital. Your son Tyler has been admitted to emergency." Clay didn't remember the drive, didn't remember parking or running through the ER doors. He only remembered the blood. So much blood on the gurney as nurses rushed Tyler into surgery. "What happened?" Clay grabbed a doctor's coat. "What happened to my son?" Dr. Heath Vasquez gently removed Clay's hand. "He has a severe skull fracture, internal bleeding, multiple contusions." "Sir, did he fall from a significant height?" "I don't know. I wasn't there. Where's his mother?" "Mr. Fuentes, Clay." Marissa appeared, her nurse's scrubs rumpled. She worked at this hospital, had called him immediately. "There's something you need to know. The police report says he fell from a moving vehicle." Clay's world tilted. "What?" "A witness saw a black Mercedes, a child being thrown out while the vehicle was moving. Estimated speed, 60 miles per hour. The room spun. Clay's hand shook, not with fear, but with rage so pure it felt like swallowing fire. "Where is Tiffany?" "Waiting room B. The general's with her." "Clay, listen to me." Marissa grabbed his face. "You can't do what you're thinking. Tyler needs you. He needs you calm. Needs you here." Clay forced himself to breathe. 12 years of training kicked in. Assess, plan, execute. He walked to waiting room, be like a man approaching a target. Tiffany sat there, mascara smudged, dressed dirty. When she saw Clay, something flickered across her face. Guilt? Fear? It vanished quickly. "Clay, it was an accident." "Ow!" The word came out flat, dead. Lewis Benson stood. He wore his uniform, every metal catching fluorescent light. "Your son disrespected me during an important function. He threw a tantrum, tried to jump from the vehicle. I attempted to stop him, but..." "You're lying." "Excuse me." Lewis's eyes narrowed. "My son wouldn't jump from a moving car. Tyler's terrified of heights, of speed. He won't even ride roller coasters." Clay stepped closer. "So, I'll ask again, what happened?" Tiffany's laugh came out wrong, hysterical. "He's right, Lewis. Maybe we should tell the truth. The boy disrespected me." Lewis's voice cracked like a whip. He questioned my authority in front of senators, called me a bully, said his bartender father was worth 10 of me. His face purpled. I taught him a lesson about respect. I opened the door and gave him a choice: apologize or get out. He didn't apologize. The room fell silent. "You threw him," Clay whispered. "You threw my 7-year-old son from a car going 60 miles an hour. I taught him consequences." Lewis showed no remorse. "Something you clearly failed to do." Clay reached for his phone. Lewis's hand shot out, crushing the device. Plastic and glass rained onto linoleum. "You're calling nobody," Lewis said, blocking the doorway. His bulk filled the frame. "No police, no lawyers. You're a nobody, Fuentes. I'm a 4-star general with 30 years of service. Who do you think they'll believe? Some washed-up ex-soldier slinging beers, or me?" Tiffany stood. Lewis, maybe we should. Shut up. He didn't even look at her. Your son will recover, or he won't. Either way, you'll keep your mouth shut if you want any custody at all. Because I promise you, I will end you. I'll have you declared unfit. I'll make sure you never see that brat again. Clay smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile a predator gives before it strikes. Lewis noticed the change in Clay's expression, the way the air itself seemed to thicken. Did I say something amusing? Lewis's voice faltered slightly. Clay rolled up his left sleeve slowly, deliberately. The tattoo stood out stark against his forearm, a skull and crossbow over the number 1776, with the words "Die Oppresso Liber." Lewis Benson's face went white. You recognize that, don't you, General? Clay's voice was soft, almost gentle. Delta Force. 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta. 12 years of service. 3 tours you'll never read about in any report. Missions that would make your desk jockey career look like kindergarten. Lewis started shaking. Actually shaking. Because he did recognize it. Every general knew about Delta. The operators who moved in shadows, who could make people disappear, who answered to no one except their own code. I suggest, Clay continued, you step away from that door. Then you're going to walk to the nurse's station and you're going to confess everything to the police. Because the alternative, his smile widened. The alternative is that I call some friends. Men who don't care about your medals or your rank. Men who know how to make problems vanish. You're threatening a 4-star general. Lewis tried to rally. That's not a threat, a guarantee. Clay pulled out his wallet, dropped something on the table. It was a card, blank except for a phone number written in black ink. That's Garrett Gomez, Delta Force. He and 19 other brothers are waiting for my call. Want to know what happens when you mess with a Delta operator's family, General? Lewis looked at Tiffany, then back at Clay. His military bearing had crumbled. He'd spent his career pushing papers, collecting medals for bureaucratic victories. Clay had spent his collecting skills that could end lives. Tiffany, Lewis said quietly. We should go. No. Tiffany's voice was small. Lewis, what did we do? We did nothing. I taught a brat a lesson. If he dies, he dies. But Lewis was already backing toward the door. Clay caught his arm. The grip looked casual, but Lewis gasped, pressure points expertly applied. My son better live, Clay whispered. Because if he doesn't, your rank won't save you. Your connections won't save you. There's no place on this earth I can't reach. He released Lewis. Now get out of my sight before I forget there are witnesses. They fled. Clay sank into a chair, adrenaline crashing. Marissa appeared with a paper cup of water. That was impressive, Mijo. Terrifying, but impressive. I meant every word. I know you did. She sat beside him. But you can't kill a 4-star general. Even Delta Force can't make that disappear. Clay stared at the card he dropped. I'm not going to kill him, Ma. I'm going to do something much worse. What? I'm going to destroy everything he cares about. His reputation, his career, his freedom. And when I'm done, he'll wish I'd killed him instead. Outside, a nurse approached with an update on Tyler's condition. Inside Clay's mind, a different operation was already beginning. The general had made a fatal mistake. He'd declared war on a man who'd spent 12 years learning how to win them. Tyler survived surgery. Barely. Clay spent 72 hours at his bedside while his son drifted in a medically induced coma. The skull fracture had been repaired, the bleeding stopped, but the doctors were cautious. Brain injuries are unpredictable, Dr. Vasquez explained. We won't know the full extent of damage until he wakes up. If he wakes up, Clay heard in the silence. On the 4th day, Tyler's eyes fluttered open. Dad! Clay gripped his small hand. Hey, buddy. I'm here. My head hurts. I know. But you're safe now. I promise, you're safe. Marissa brought clothes, food, kept Clay functional. She also brought something else, a visitor. Garrett Gomez walked into the hospital room wearing jeans and a leather jacket, but his posture screamed military. He took one look at Tyler, bandages wrapping his skull, machines beeping steadily, and his jaw clenched. Outside, he said. In the hallway, Garrett's easygoing demeanor evaporated. Tell me everything. Clay did. Every detail of that night. Lewis's confession, Tiffany's complicity. Jesus Christ. Garrett paced. A four-star general threw a 7-year-old from a moving vehicle and admitted it in front of my mother. She's a witness, but Clay rubbed his face. Tiffany recanted her statement to police. Said it was an accident, that Tyler opened the door himself. Lewis claims the same. It's their word against mine, and Lewis has half the military justice system in his pocket. We could make him disappear. I've got 3 guys in town who owe me favors. No. Clay's voice was firm. That's not how this ends. I want him destroyed publicly. I want everyone to know what he did. I want his medal stripped, his pension gone, his name mud. Garrett studied him. That's not the Clay I served with. You were always surgical, quick, quiet, decisive. That was before they touched my son. Fair enough. Garrett pulled out a tablet. So let's start digging. Lewis Benson, 4-star general. Surface level, he's pristine. Commendations, Pentagon assignments, advisor to 3 presidents. But nobody's that clean, brother. Nobody. Over the next week, while Tyler slowly healed, Clay and Garrett built a case. They brought in others. Dusty Kahn, a former intelligence analyst who now ran a private investigation firm. Mark Tanner, who specialized in financial forensics. Theodore Wheeler, a military lawyer with an axe to grind against corrupt officers. What they found made Clay's blood boil for different reasons. Lewis Benson isn't just an abusive piece of shit, Dusty said during a meeting in Clay's apartment. He's a systematic one. I found 3 other families, enlisted men, who filed complaints about his treatment of their kids at base functions. All complaints disappeared. Mark added, his finances are interesting too. He's been receiving payments from a defense contractor, Orion Strategic Solutions. 6 figures annually, laundered through his wife's consulting business. Consulting for what? She doesn't have any relevant experience. So he's on the take, Theodore mused. Steering contracts to Orion in exchange for kickbacks. That's a court-martial offense, potentially prison time. But we need proof, Clay said. Solid, incontrovertible proof. I can get it, Dusty grinned. Give me 2 weeks and access to his computers. Lewis is old school. He probably uses the same password for everything. How do you get access? Leave that to me. Meanwhile, Tiffany tried to visit Tyler. Clay blocked her at the door. Please, she begged. He's my son, too. You laughed. Clay's voice could have frozen hell. When your husband threw our child from a car, you laughed. Tyler told the police that. He remembered that sound. I was in shock. You chose a monster over your own son. Now live with it. He closed the door in her face. But Tiffany's visit gave him an idea. 10 days after the incident, Tiffany received a call from an unknown number. Mrs. Benson? This is Camille Montoya from the Pentagon Inspector General's office. We're investigating irregularities in defense contract awards. Your consulting firm has been flagged. We'd like to ask you some questions. Tiffany's hand trembled. I don't know what you're talking about. Ma'am, this is a courtesy call. You can speak with us voluntarily, or we can issue a subpoena. Your choice. I need to talk to my husband. Of course. We'll be in touch. The woman hung up. Tiffany stared at the phone, panic rising. Lewis had promised his arrangement with Orion was bulletproof. But if the IG was investigating, she called Lewis immediately. We have a problem. At the Pentagon, Lewis Benson sat in his mahogany-lined office, listening to his wife spiral into hysteria. Calm down. Nobody's investigating anything. Someone's trying to rattle us. How do you know? Because I'm the Pentagon, Tiffany. If the IG was investigating, I'd know before they made any calls. But doubt had been planted. That night, Lewis received his own message, an email from an encrypted address containing photos. Photos of him meeting with Orion executives. Photos of cash-stuffed envelopes. Photos of documents he'd provided, classified bid information for upcoming contracts. The email was simple. Resign quietly, or these go public. You have 48 hours. Lewis didn't resign. Instead, he called his security team, his lawyers, his contacts at military intelligence. Find out who sent these. I want names, addresses, everything. What he didn't know, every call he made was being monitored by Dusty Kahn, who'd hacked Lewis's phone weeks ago. Every contact Lewis reached out to was quietly being fed false information by Clay's expanding network. Delta Force operators don't work alone. They build teams, leverage assets, manipulate environments. Clay was doing exactly that. He's spiraling, Garrett reported. Making mistakes, getting paranoid. Good. Not good enough, Clay said. They sat in Tyler's hospital room. The boy was sleeping peacefully, finally off the heavy painkillers. I want a broken, not just nervous. What are you thinking? Clay pulled out a file. Lewis has a son from his first marriage. Damian Benson, age 19, military academy. Clean record, good kid by all accounts. Lewis barely acknowledges him. Too busy with his career. So Lewis cares about his reputation above all else. What if his son became a liability? Garrett's eyes widened. Clay, we're not targeting a kid. Not targeting. Protecting. Clay opened the file, showing messages Dusty had recovered. Damian knows about his father's arrangement with Orion. He's been blackmailing Lewis for tuition money, threatening to expose everything. Lewis has been paying him off. Jesus, the kid's extorting his own father. No, but that's what it's going to look like when I'm done. Over the next 3 days, Clay orchestrated a masterpiece. Using Damian's legitimate grievances about his absent father, Clay, through anonymous intermediaries, approached the young man with an offer. Testimony against Lewis in exchange for immunity and a full scholarship. Damian, bitter about years of neglect, agreed. Simultaneously, Dusty leaked the Orion photos to a journalist named Wilfred Hunter, a military affairs reporter known for breaking corruption stories. Wilfred verified the images, cross-referenced dates, confirmed meetings. The story would publish in 72 hours. But Clay wasn't done. Lewis Benson's world began collapsing in stages. First, the Joint Chiefs received an anonymous package containing financial records showing his Orion payments. An investigation was opened quietly. Second, 3 families, those whose children Lewis had abused, suddenly found legal representation courtesy of Theodore Wheeler. They filed civil suits simultaneously. Third, Damian Benson's testimony was leaked to military prosecutors, complete with evidence of Lewis's blackmail payments being reframed as hush money. But the killing blow came from an unexpected angle. Clay, you need to see this, Marissa said, bursting into the hospital room. She held a tablet showing a news alert. 4-star General Lewis Benson under investigation for corruption, child abuse. Wilfred Hunter's article was devastating. It detailed everything. The Orion payments, the assault on Tyler, the pattern of abusing enlisted families' children, the intimidation tactics. Sources were anonymous but verifiable. Photos were damning. Within hours, the Pentagon issued a statement. General Benson was being placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Lewis called Clay 20 times. Clay ignored everyone. Finally, a text came through. You did this. You're a dead man. Clay smiled and texted back. Come try. I'll be at Rusty's Tavern tonight at 10 p.m. Alone. Garrett grabbed Clay's shoulder. Brother, that's suicide. He's desperate, That's why I'm counting on. Clay, trust me. I've got this. That night, Clay sat at his own bar, nursing a whiskey. The place was empty. He'd closed early, sent staff home. At 10:03 p.m., Lewis Benson walked through the door. He looked haggard. His uniform was gone, replaced by wrinkled slacks and a shirt. His hand shook. You destroyed me, Lewis said. My career, my reputation, my family. For what? Some brat who couldn't follow orders. Clay stood slowly. That brat is my son, and you threw him from a moving car. He disrespected me. He was 7 years old. He needed discipline. Lewis's voice cracked. You think I don't know what you are? Delta Force, Special Operations. You think you're better than me? You're not. I earned my rank. I serve my country. Behind a desk, pushing papers, collecting medals for PowerPoint presentations. Clay circled the bar. You never deployed, never saw real combat. You're a bureaucrat with ribbons. Lewis lunged. It was clumsy, desperate. Clay sidestepped, caught Lewis's arm, and using the man's own momentum, slammed him face first into the bar. Blood exploded from Lewis's nose. That's for Tyler, Clay said calmly. Lewis tried again, throwing a wild punch. Clay blocked, delivered a precise strike to the solar plexus. Lewis collapsed, wheezing. And that's for every child you abused. But Clay wasn't done. He pulled out his phone, started recording. Tell me what you did, General. Tell the camera. Fuck you. Clay pressed his boot against Lewis's hand. Not hard enough to break bones, but enough to promise it. Tell me. I threw the kid out. So what? He was disrespectful. I was teaching him. Click. The recording stopped. Clay sent it to Dusty, who'd have it to prosecutors within minutes. That's a confession. Voluntary, uncoerced. You just handed me everything I needed. Lewis started crying, actually sobbing. My career is over. My pension's gone. My family won't even talk to me. What more do you want? I want you to understand something. Clay crouched down. You could have killed my son. You almost did. And you showed no remorse. So now you get to live with nothing. No career, no respect, no freedom. You'll be court-martialed, stripped of rank, and prosecuted for assault, corruption, and child endangerment. You'll spend years in Leavenworth, and every single inmate there will know you hurt a kid. You know what happens to people like you in military prison, General? Lewis's eyes widened with terror. Exactly. Clay stood. Police are on their way. You assaulted me in my bar. There are cameras everywhere. Self-defense is a beautiful thing. Sirens wailed in the distance. One more thing, Clay said. Tyler's awake. He's going to make a full recovery. He'll grow up knowing his father fought for him. What will your son remember about you? Lewis had no answer. 6 weeks later, United States versus General Lewis Benson began at Fort Myers Military Court. The courtroom was packed. Media, military brass, families of Lewis's victims. Everyone wanted to watch the four-star general fall. Theodore Wheeler served as the prosecutor. He was methodical, devastating. General Benson stands accused of multiple violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Theodore began. Conduct unbecoming an officer, assault, corruption, and conspiracy to defraud the United States government. But at the heart of this case is something far simpler. A man who threw a 7-year-old child from a moving vehicle and showed no remorse. Lewis's defense attorney, a colonel named Lowell Galloway, tried to argue extenuating circumstances. General Benson dedicated 30 years to serving this nation. One moment of poor judgment shouldn't. One moment, Theodore cut in. Permission to present evidence of pattern behavior? The judge, a stern woman named Antonia Hansen, nodded. Theodore called witness after witness. Enlisted men whose children had been terrorized at base functions. Marissa Proctor, who testified about Lewis's confession at the hospital. Damian Benson, who detailed years of emotional abuse and blackmail. Then came the financial evidence. Mark Tanner walked the court through the Orion payments, the shell companies, the kickbacks totaling nearly $2 million. General Benson didn't just abuse children, Theodore concluded. He betrayed his oath, corrupted the procurement process, and lined his pockets while good soldiers fought and died overseas. But the moment that sealed Lewis's fate came when Clay took the stand. He wore a simple suit, no military decorations. Theodore walked him through that night at the hospital, Lewis's confession, the threat. Mr. Fuentes, you serve in Delta Force for 12 years. Is that correct? Yes, sir. During that time, did you ever encounter officers like General Benson? Objection. Lowell jumped up. Relevance. I'll allow it, Judge Hansen said. Clay looked directly at Lewis. No, sir. I encountered officers who led from the front, who cared about their soldiers more than their careers, who understood that rank is a responsibility, not a weapon. He paused. General Benson represents everything we fought against. Abuse of power, corruption, cowardice. The courtroom erupted. Judge Hansen gavelled for order. Lewis's attorney cross-examined. Isn't it true, Mr. Fuentes, that you orchestrated an elaborate revenge plot against my client? I gathered evidence. I made sure the truth came out. If that's revenge, then yes. You manipulated witnesses, leaked classified information, and used your military connections to destroy General Benson's career. I used the truth to expose a criminal. Clay's voice was steel. Your client threw my son from a car. He laughed about it. He threatened to make sure I never saw Tyler again. So yes, Colonel, I made damn sure he'd never hurt another child. The courtroom applauded. Judge Hanson didn't stop them. When deliberations ended, the verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. General Lewis Benson, this court finds you guilty of conduct unbecoming an officer, assault causing grievous bodily harm, conspiracy to defraud the United States, bribery, and multiple violations of military law. Judge Hanson's voice echoed through the courtroom. Before I pass sentence, does the defendant wish to make a statement? Lewis stood. He looked smaller now, diminished. I dedicated my life to serving this country. I made mistakes. I accept responsibility. The words sounded rehearsed, hollow. Judge Hanson wasn't impressed. You accept responsibility now, after being caught, after the evidence became overwhelming. But when Tyler Fuentes lay in a hospital bed with a cracked skull, you showed no remorse. When you threatened his father, you showed no conscience. When you collected bribes, you showed no honor. She leaned forward. This court hereby sentences you to 20 years in the United States disciplinary barracks at Fort Leavenworth. You're stripped of all rank, all decorations, and all military honors. Your pension is forfeited. You will be dishonorably discharged from the United States Army, effective immediately. Lewis's legs buckled. MPs caught him. Furthermore, Judge Hanson continued, you will pay restitution to the families you've harmed, beginning with Clay and Tyler Fuentes. The civil suits against you will proceed without impediment from this court. Lewis was led away in handcuffs. As he passed Clay in the gallery, their eyes met. Lewis's held defeat, confusion. He still didn't understand how a washed-up bartender had destroyed him so completely. Clay held his gaze until Lewis looked away first. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Clay made a brief statement. Justice was served today. My son can heal knowing the man who hurt him will face consequences. That's all I wanted, justice. But Tiffany wasn't done. She'd been called as a witness, had pled the fifth on most questions. But the revelation of her complicity, her laughter at Tyler's injury, her recanting of testimony, had destroyed her social standing. Her consulting business collapsed. The country club revoked her membership. Friends stopped calling. She cornered Clay in the parking garage. Are you happy now? You've ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything, Clay said calmly. You did. You chose a monster over your own son. He promised me a better life. After you. After years of struggling while you played soldier. I wasn't playing. I was serving. And when I came back, I tried to be there for you and Tyler. It wasn't enough. No, you weren't enough. Clay's words hit like bullets. You weren't strong enough to raise a child without luxury. You weren't loyal enough to stand by your family. And you sure as hell weren't smart enough to see what Lewis really was. Tiffany slapped him. Clay didn't even flinch. Tyler wants nothing to do with you. Clay continued. The court agreed. I have full custody. You get supervised visitation once a month if Tyler agrees to see you. Right now, he doesn't. You turned him against me. No, Tiffany, you did that yourself when you let your husband throw him from a car. Clay walked away, then stopped. One more thing. Theodore Wheeler is filing for you to pay child support. Turns out, even former generals' wives have to support their kids. Good luck finding a job with your reputation. He left her standing there, tears streaming down her face. 3 months later, Clay and Tyler sat on the dock behind Rusty's Tavern, fishing rods in the water. Tyler's head was still tender, his hair growing back over the surgical scars. But his smile had returned. Dad, I caught something. Clay helped him reel it in, a decent-sized bass. Look at that. Nice work, buddy. Can we keep it? What do you think we should do? Tyler considered. Let it go. It's at a family, probably. Clay smiled. This kid had endured hell and still had compassion. Good choice. They released the fish together. Dad, Tyler's voice was small. Is Mom ever going to be normal again? I don't know, son. That's up to her. Do you think she's sorry? Maybe. But being sorry doesn't erase what happened. Tyler nodded, processing. I'm glad I'm with you. Me too, buddy. Me too. Gare arrived with pizza and beer. He'd stayed in town, officially consulting, but really just making sure Clay and Tyler were okay. Marissa came too, bringing Tyler's favorite dessert, churros from the Mexican bakery downtown. They ate on the dock as the sun set, talking about everything and nothing. No one mentioned Lewis Benson, who is currently in Leavenworth discovering exactly how other inmates treat child abusers. No one mentioned Tiffany, who'd moved to a studio apartment and was working retail while her legal bills mounted. The conversation turned to the future. "I've been thinking," Clay said. "Maybe it's time I did something more than bartending." "Like what?" Garrett asked. "Mark Tanner offered me a position at his firm. Private investigation, helping families with custody issues, finding evidence of abuse. Turns out I'm good at that." "You're good at a lot of things," Marissa said proudly. "What about Rusty's?" Tyler asked. "I'll keep it, but I'll hire a manager. This place was just a job. Helping people like you? That's a mission." Tyler grinned. "Like Delta Force?" "Better than Delta Force. Because I get to come home to you every night." Later, after Tyler fell asleep, Clay stood on the dock alone. He pulled out his phone, looked at a message from Dusty. "Lewis Benson attacked by inmates. Hospitalized. Broken ribs, punctured lung. Thought you'd want to know." Clay didn't feel satisfaction. Didn't feel joy. He felt closure. Lewis would serve his time. Every day, a reminder of what he'd lost. Tiffany would rebuild, or she wouldn't. That was her choice. But Tyler? Tyler would grow up knowing his father had fought for him, had shown him that monsters can be defeated, that justice exists. The Delta Force tattoo on Clay's wrist caught moonlight. "De oppresso liber," to free the oppressed. He'd spent 12 years freeing strangers. Turned out, freeing his own son was the mission that mattered most. Clay Fuentes walked back inside his bar, locked the door, and went upstairs to check on Tyler one more time. The boy slept peacefully, finally safe. And for the first time in months, so did Clay. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.